He's unavailable at the moment, but I'll pass along the message. AF3Z.
Okay, thank you. And just as long as it's not the late AF3Z. Talk to you in a bit. KC3CID.
Very good, Phil. Good evening. Welcome home. AF3Z.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the 985 Thursday Night Roundtable. My name is Phil, and my call sign is KC3CIB, that's Kilo Charlie 3, Charlie India Bravo. And I'm located in Westchester. We meet here every Thursday at 8:30 on the W3GMS repeater located in Parkesburg, Pennsylvania, and the repeater's frequency is 146.985 with a PL tone of 100 hertz. You can visit the repeater's website at www.w3gmsrepeater.com. And let's see here. I will make a call for short timers first, and then we'll just go for our regular check-ins. But I encourage all stations to make a list of the stations checking in so you will know when it's your turn in the rotation and who to pass it off to after you're done making your comments. And let's see, and when it is your turn to speak, to keep things legal, remember to ID your station every round, and the repeater has a 3-minute timeout timer. And all you have to do to reset the repeater is to just unkey your microphone real quickly. You do not have to let the repeater drop completely, so you just need to do like this, and then just get right back on the mic and continue talking, and that'll give you another 3 minutes. And please leave a pause between transmissions for late check-ins and or comments. So, let me see here. Let me find the pen. Do we have any short-time check-ins tonight for the Thursday Night Roundtable? Please call KC3CIB. K3KB. Okay, got Alan, K3KB. Any other short-time stations? Okay. Well, Alan, since there's only one here, I'm going to continue on with the check-ins, then I'll do the questions, but you will be at the top of the list. Any stations wishing to check in to the Thursday Night Roundtable, please call now.
KC3 KVM Jerry.
K3CNI. KB3ZUV.
Okay, I acknowledge Jerry, KC3 KVM, John, K3CNI, and Adam, KB3ZUV. Any additional stations, please call now.
KF3Z.
KC3KZG.
Okay, let's see, I acknowledge AF3Z, Jim and Scott, KC3KZG. Any additional stations, please call KC3CIB.
Just walked in the door, NA3CW.
Okay, Chuck, NA3CW. Yeah, I just walked in the door about 15 minutes ago myself, so welcome home. One last call. Any additional stations wishing to check in to the Thursday Night Roundtable, please call now. Okay, so here's our short list for tonight so far. I'm sure we'll get some additional stations here. We got Alan K3KB, that's Kilo 3, Kilo Bravo. He's a short timer, so, and then we got Jerry, KC3KVM, and then John, K3CNI. KBNI, then Adam, KB3ZUV, then Jim, AF3Z, then Scott, KC3KZG, and then Chuck, NA3CW. So, I got a couple questions here for tonight. One's going to be pretty short and simple. What was your first ham radio transmitting antenna? You could elaborate whether it's VHF, HF, or comment on both there. And then, let's see. They say, as a second question, they say ham radio activity increases during the winter months. Well, with summer coming up, how does the warmer weather affect your ham radio activity? Do you find that you do more, or do you find that you do less, or I'm just wondering how seasonal, if the seasons affect your activity in ham radio. So let me make one last call, and then we'll go on with the rotation. Any stations wishing to check in to the Thursday night roundtable, please call now. Okay, hearing nothing, we will send it over to Alan. Sorry for making you wait there, Alan, but we got a pretty short list here tonight. So, let's see here. K3KB. This is KC3CIB.
KC3CIB, K3KB. Phil, glad to hear you on the air. I'm pretty tired tonight. I've been working the last 2.5, 3 days on getting the 80-meter dipole up, and worked pretty much all day today out in the 90-degree weather. And I've got a prototype dipole, 80-meter dipole out, and I'm waiting for my brother to call. I'm going to test it out and see if I can connect with him in Maryland. So, can't remember the first antenna. Probably it was either a dipole. I do remember way back that I had a 3-element tribander rotating. Back when I was active in the 80s. So, can't remember the first antenna. I was on low bands before I was on 2 meters. And let's see, I forget what the other question was. But anyway, I didn't write that down, the other question. Anyway, this is really my first antenna on 80 meters. I think I got it working. I had so many problems, and really simple problems. A couple connector shorts. I'm back in the hobby after 25, 30 years of being out of the hobby, and I've got this stuff that I pulled out of the closet, and I'm trying to use patch cords. Some of them are shorted. Some of them don't have complete connections. So I don't know the quality of the stuff that I'm using, and that's been part of the problem with, I'm running a wire out and can't understand why it doesn't tune, and I find out that the PL259 connector is shorted. So, a lot of different kinds of problems, but I'm trying to connect with my brother tonight. He's going to give me a call shortly. We're going to try to hook up. So that's why I'm a short timer. I wanted to check in and give you, at least a couple extra points to double your salary for being a net coordinator. So Phil, back to you. Or no, is it Jerry, I think, is up next. This is K3KB.
KC3KVM. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, my first radio antenna, I had two of them right away because of using handhelds when I got licensed back in February. I had an aftermarket little whip antenna for the handheld and a Slim Jim roll-up, which currently I'm using at the moment with my base here. So the Slim Jim, I love that antenna. That thing seems to do great with the low angle of takeoff, and the range I seem to get out of it does very, very well for me. So for the second question, as far as increasing or decreasing activity based on the seasons, being that this is my first year, I'm not really sure yet, but at the moment I got pretty much a routine that I do so far, so at the moment I'm going to say it's unchanged. So I guess that's what I got for this round. I believe I'll hand it over to K3CNI.
KC3KBM, Jerry, thank you for coming back there and turning it over to me. This is K3CNI. I owe you an email address, or not an address, but a message, Phil, about that 2-meter antenna, and I kind of got buried in things here at home for a while, but I'll get your message off tomorrow and let you know what's cooking. But yes, I do want to sell that, and the price is probably going to be pretty good. So let's see what else we got. The first transmitting antenna. Well, I think it was a 40-meter old Army York 5 that I had converted, so the antenna would have been a wire antenna for 40 meters, and then I tried one for, I guess it was 20 meters vertical, and that was an absolute flop. I just I couldn't do anything with that. I don't know why it didn't work, but it just plain didn't. And it was made up out of pieces of copper pipe, and it just didn't work. So that was the story there. So let's see what else we got here. And the second question is about the activity, radio activity. I probably do more of that in the winter months. I play with antennas and doing anything outside as far as the physical aspects of the thing. But as far as operating, it's usually the winter is the period that I enjoy the most. So that's the story from here, from the time being. And over to Adam, KB3ZUV, K3CNI.
All right, thanks there, John. I'm going to send it really quick back to our host here, Phil, KC3CIB, with two questions. One, I missed who was following me, and also, can I please get a signal report, because I think I'm having a little bit of a hard time getting into the machine today. I might not have the best voice quality. Phil?
Adam, you are sounding good into the repeater. No need to worry about your signal tonight. And let's see, who follows you would be Jim, AF3Z. This is KC3CIB.
Okay, Phil. Thanks for the signal quality check there. I think I was pretty bad last week, so it's good that I'm getting through a little better this week. And unfortunately, I had to be one and done here. My wife is doing some stuff I need to help her out with, so I'm gonna have a nice long round here. I'm gonna try and take breaks and not time out the machine, and try and run everything down, and then be on my way. So I'll answer the questions in order. My ham radio antennas, I'll reset and run those down. First ever antenna. I'm not going to count rubber ducks and whips on HTs. My first ever separate antenna was an MFJ mag mount for 2 meters that I did, the old cookie sheet trick with, cookie sheet ground plane, and that was during my first initial ham radio career back around the turn of the century. And I still have that antenna somewhere. I forget where, in a closet somewhere. Second antenna would be some MFJ ham sticks for 20 meters, I think, in 10 meters, 17 meters, and 20 meters. They were the antennas I did my first ever HF contacts on, and they're just so-so. They really meant more for mobile use. And then I got the buddy pole, which I used for quite a while, and that can do all sorts of different bands, from really from 40 all the way down through 10, and then even down up into VHF and UHF. So I still use that quite a bit. And then, but lately for HF, I've been spending a little bit more time, just because it's a much smaller footprint in my yard. Because I've been spending the most time with the magnetic loop for CW and weak signal digital. It takes up very little space, and it really filters out a lot of that background noise. So that's my antennas in brief. Although, like I said, if I had to say what my first ones were, it would be MFJ, mag mounts, and ham sticks. So that's the first question. As for the second question, when am I more busy? Well, with a couple exceptions, such as Field Day and also the Ham Fest this weekend in Warminster, which is on Sunday, and I have every intention of attending that. I hope to see some of you there. I would say, like John, I also tend to favor the winter months a little bit more, just because there's less going on overall. There's a lot of family picnics and activities and vacations and stuff like that in summer, a lot of get-togethers, and that takes up a lot of time. And so I feel like winter is a more quiet time of the year, and I wind up getting on the radio a little bit more often. Although, again, there are exceptions, Hamfest and Field Day in particular. So that answers the questions. Last thing I'll say, I guess, like I said, I did mention the Hamfest. That like I said, I hope to see some of you there. Don't have too much to add. I guess Daniel Inchek and I enjoyed seeing the picture of his station. Joe posted up a picture of his transmitter that was really interesting to see earlier this week. So if either of them stopped by, I can tell them I enjoyed looking at that. But aside from that, not too much else. So maybe we'll see some of you at Warminster. Otherwise, we'll catch you on 985 or on next week's roundtable. With that, I'm going to sign here and say 7-3 to everybody, and hope you have a great and excellent weekend. I hear the weather's going to be really nice. 7-3 to everyone from KB3ZUV. Over to Jim, AF3Z.
All right, very good. Thank you, Adam, and goodbye. 73, have a good one. And, yeah, good evening to everybody. My first antenna, I'm pretty sure was a dipole, though I don't really remember exactly. But I'm pretty sure that's what I would have started with, was a dipole, probably a 40-meter dipole. My Nava station, 1967, and DX60 running my 60 watts out there. And no, it was probably even, I forget what it was. Anyway, so that was my start. And my main thing that I remember about my antennas is that I didn't really know what I was doing. I know I didn't have any kind of balun on it, though, not that you absolutely need one. And so I just strung it up. And the second antenna, and I didn't get on 2 meters until 79 when I got back into the hobby and got a new license and stuff. So it was strictly CW, strictly HF. And my second antenna was a ground-mounted vertical with a loading coil at the base. It had a little clip lead on it. You had to use a screwdriver to adjust it, take it off, and put it on another turn on the coil. So anytime I wanted to switch bands, not only did I have to
retune or whatever, I had to walk outside over to the antenna, move the clip lead, and come back in. But again, I wasn't operating that many bands and stuff, so it probably wasn't that big a deal. So those are my first antennas. And seasonal activity, my highest seasonal activity is January. Not because of the weather, because that's when the Straight Key Century Club does their anniversary event. Seasonally, I don't know how much difference it makes. Not a great deal in my general normal activity. So anyway, that's the scoop here. And I will pass it along with that. Where am I? There I am. Scott, good evening. Over to you. KC3KZG, AF3Z.
KC3KZG. Good evening, everybody. How's everybody doing? Well, Jim, you make me laugh when you tell stories about having to go outside to move the tuning coil. Or I don't know why. I wouldn't do that, but that's too much like work. Anyway, I think my first transmitting antenna, like I won't count HT antennas, I guess, but that was my first, was an HT. But the first one right after I got my license a few months ago is actually the one I'm still talking on. And it was basically a quarter wave 2-meter antenna that I made out of an SO239 connector and some 12-gauge copper wire, solid copper wire. Basically just a ground plane antenna. You can find plans for it on the internet everywhere. And it's on top of a 10-foot piece of PVC pipe. I ran the LMR 400 through the pipe and secured the little antenna to the top with a zip tie and mounted it on the back of my shed, so that the antenna is maybe 15 feet off the ground, and it works so good I just keep using it. There's no need to do anything different. I made a few more of those antennas. My brother Dylan actually has the same exact setup at his house that he uses to receive the repeater signal for the stream, the online stream. So it works. So if anybody needs a quick 2-meter antenna, that's one to build, and it works well. Simple and works. On to the second question, the warmer weather. I don't know. I've noticed just since it got hot out that there's less traffic on the repeater myself, because I'm usually always listening, either with an HT or in the car or, at home. When I'm out in the garage, I'll have an HT sitting, just always listening, and it just seems like these last few days it's been warm. It seems like it's dead. I haven't heard anybody. I've talked to a few people on my ride home, but they were very, very short conversations. And so I think it's dying off a little bit as far as I can tell. But maybe I'm just catching the wrong times. I'm not sure. But, everybody's outside doing stuff. Who wants to be... But I guess with HTs now, everybody could just have one on their side and jump in whenever. But everybody's doing physical labor, mowing their yards, doing all that kind of stuff. There's a little more chores to do in the summertime, I think. Especially, I don't know, some people probably live where they don't really have a lot of yard work to do, but I have like an acre of land and I gotta cut it and weed eat, and the wife plants flowers, and plus I got tons of garage work to do because it's warm and I want to be out there. So yeah, I would say it dies off in the summer a little bit. At least it will for me. But with the HTs, it's convenient to always have one, near you listening, at least. And if someone starts talking, we can always jump in. So yeah, the wintertime, I think everybody's just stuck in the house and looking for something to do. So the radio becomes the crutch to get you through the winter. So I think that's all I have, and I'll send it over to Chuck, NA3CW. Take it away. KC3KZG.
Very good, Scott, NA3CW. Well, one reason for my decreased activity is I'm back to work during the day. So today was day 3 of my return to work. The sabbatical is over. And in the medical device business, you're not allowed to do anything you haven't trained for, which means you get to read a lot of training documents. So today, late yesterday, I finally got operational computer access. And today I spent the day with my face glued to the screen doing training documents. I have about 100 to do, and I got about 35 done today. So it's a lot of reading. My eyeballs are about ready to fall out. But wait, there's more tomorrow. So that kind of cuts down on my daytime operation. For what it's worth, anybody that's going to be listening, I'll be on the air tomorrow afternoon at quitting time, because Friday is my day to drive home. So I have my white Cobalt with the 5/8 mag mount on top, and hits the repeater very nicely from over there by Paoli. So my first antenna was a 40-meter dipole. Now you gotta take in the whole scene here. I grew up in half a duplex in the middle of Westchester. 3 stories tall, 11-foot ceilings, at least on the first floor. They're pretty high on the second and third floor. And the back of the house was stepped in 3 levels. The roof of the top on the 3rd floor level, and then in the back there was a 2nd floor roof and then a 1st floor roof. And they're all tin roof. So I had a dipole, that 40-meter dipole, because that's what would fit, from the edge of the 3rd floor down to, I think, the garage, which was in the backyard. So I had this 40-meter dipole sloping down over these tin roofs, and the convenient length to get into my 2nd floor bedroom was 25 feet. And so there was a problem with that, because the 25 feet is very close to a quarter wavelength for coax on 40 meters. And I had a Globe Scout transmitter, which had a 6146 in the output, 65 watts input. And I would turn the loading control up, and the plate current would go down instead of up. Odd. Well, it turns out I didn't know anything about this quarter wave stuff. A quarter wave of coax acts as an impedance inverter. And so my dipole over all these tin roofs was a much lower impedance than 50 ohms. The problem is and my transmitter probably could have handled that. Well, actually, it did handle that very nicely once I changed that coax length. But the 25 feet turned that low impedance into a very high impedance. So then when I would turn the loading control up on the transmitter, it would make the current go down instead of up. So I found out later, after I hooked up with W3FDY, and same mentor that Joe had and several others of us, I found out that the quarter wave length of coax was absolutely the worst thing I could have done. So I went to a half wave of coax, which at that frequency is about 50 feet. Because it's 492 divided by the frequency in megahertz times the velocity factor, which for non-foam coax is about 0.66. We're talking about 50 feet or so. So I got 50 feet of coax on there. Then it worked like gangbusters. My transmitter would load and put out lots of power and everything. So that was an early smack in the head lesson about antenna design. It's not just the antenna you're tuning, it's the whole system. Now, if the antenna had been perfectly resonant and 50 ohms impedance, it wouldn't make any difference how long the coax was. But going over those tin roofs, it certainly was not 50 ohms resistive. So the The quarter wave of coax was the kiss of death. So that was the first lesson learned. It was a long time before I got on VHF. So I was on HF doing CW as a novice for a long time. Well, for close to a year. And then I got an advanced license. Hot and cold. Doesn't make a whole lot of difference for me because, like right now, it's dark, so I can't work outside. Very effectively, anyway. And my main operating activities are this ground table, the PM/AM net on 75 meters on Sunday afternoon or night. At this point, it's 7 o'clock. And miscellaneous stuff in the car now that I'm back to work. So it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference whether it's warm or cold. I certainly do more antenna work when it's warm. And I is pretty soon going to take my mast down and do a lot of rehabilitation and redesign on my antenna system and refurbish and change a bunch of things. So it won't look a whole lot different to the naked eye when I'm done, but it'll be more serviceable and rehabbed. So enough of my blabbing. Back to you, Phil. KC3CIB and A3CW.
Okay, thanks, Chuck. And some really interesting comments. And glad everything's going good on your back to the salt mines there, Chuck. And hopefully you're not overly tired after getting back into a new routine. And good on everybody's antennas. It's pretty interesting hearing what everybody started out with. Me for VHF and UHF is mine was well, other than HT, was a what do you call it? A roll-up J-pole like Jerry has, KC3 KVM. Made mine out from plans from a double RL article out of I guess it's what TV. I guess the proper term would be window line. Just parallel wires. And that's actually what I'm still using today. So hopefully I have something a little better on the outside of the house here very shortly before the weather gets too hot. And for HF, the first HF transmitting antenna I used was one from John, K3CNI, a 20-meter bare copper dipole, and I tell you what, that thing works great. It got me on the air, made lots of contacts, and I'm actually think I'm gonna put that in the attic as a secondary backup HF antenna, because my second HF antenna is let's see, it's about 180 foot long dipole fed with what do you call it? Drawing a blank here. Open wire line. So I can tune all bands, and like Chuck was saying, feed line length, I had put it up. I'm not sure quite what the feed line length was, but it was probably right around 30 feet or so. And I could tune I could tune pretty much all the bands except for 20 meters. So I lengthened my feed line by about 4 feet, and then I was able to tune 20 meters. So right now I can tune, let's see, I can tune 6 and then 20 through 160. And then those oddball bands 12, 15, and 17, I can tune 12, I can tune 10 too. 10, 12, 15, I can't tune 17, so I had to mess with either feed line length, but I'm going to also put a set of 20 meter radiating elements on the dipole to help me on the higher HF bands, and then who knows what that'll do to all the other bands. I'm sure it's going to affect them all, but we'll see what happens there when I do it. And I don't want to do that before it gets too hot out. Let's see. Seasonal activity due to temperature. I would have to say that it's probably not a big difference in operating, because I usually most of my operating is either, like Chuck said, you know, when you're home at nighttime and it's dark, so you can't do nothing outside, and then you know, if I do get a chance during the day in the middle of the week, it's usually when I'm in the work truck, which isn't all that much, maybe once a month or so, and I'll have maybe about three hours of operating time in my travels per month. So, and then, you know, sporadic. Been very sporadic on weekends, whether I operate or not. So, and Chuck, when it comes back around to you, wonder what time you're. Been so long, I forget what time your drive home is. So, let me see if there's anybody else out there who wants to check into the Thursday night roundtable. Any additional stations wishing to check in tonight, please call KC3CID.
W3TTW. KB3ZIM.
Okay, I got Woody, W3TTW, and then Bob. KB3ZIM. I almost called you Jim because AF3Z always calls you Jim Bob. And I think I heard another station trying to check in. Want to try it again?
KB3ZIM here. It sounded like somebody was doubling with you there, Phil, so I thought another station was there.
I just heard it again. Any additional stations wishing to check in, please call now.
Phil, I think it's coupling in from somewhere else.
It might be that station down there in southern Maryland that gets into this repeater from time to time. It has some characteristic sound that sounds like that I've heard before.
On the repeater tail, since the repeater's access. So, Woody, good hearing you, and same with you, Bob. So, not sure if you guys heard the questions for tonight. First question was, what was your first transmitting antenna, whether it be VHF, UHF, HF, And then, if you want to continue on with, your successive antennas or current antennas or anything like that. And then the second question was ham radio activity typically increases during the winter months, and with summer and the warmer weather pretty much coming up or it's upon us. How does the the seasonal aspect of it affect your operating? So, Woody, over to you. W3TTW. And when you're done, send it to Bob, KB3ZIM. This is KC3CIB. Over to you, Woody.
Okay. This is W3TTW. Let me say good evening to everyone. Well, the antennas I have here is a 40-meter dipole and a vertical. I don't know how many sections is on there, but there is some gain to the vertical. But the antenna that I was really proud of early on was a Sturber curtain. I made one of them, and boy, that's a job, a person working by themselves to get all the measurements correct. But it did work. I assembled it on the ground, flat ways, and it consisted of 3 sections. Later on, I put 2 more on there, and it worked fine. Well, Jiminy Crickets, I didn't write your call down. I forgot it. Well, back to you there. This is W3TTW. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Bob. KB3ZIM, KC3CIB.
Good evening, everyone. KB3ZIM returning Phil and everyone else. Woody, hello to you. Special hello to you. You and I both checked in on top of each other here at the same time, so always a pleasure to hear you in there. And I'll comment right away, Woody. The Sturba curtain is like, that be the man's antenna, man. And a lot of these shortwave stations around the world use monster Sturba curtains. And if anyone's not familiar with that, look it up and do some reading on it and everything. They are fascinating radiators, to be sure. So, Woody, my hat's off to you, because I'm sure it was a big job for one person to do, putting one of those things together and then hanging it in the air, for goodness sakes. Thursday nights are not often good for me to join the net, and partially because there's other nets on the UHF I do some stuff with, including a digital on Thursday nights, when I'm even around the radio to do anything radio at all. So I was just about to shut things down, and when I hit the scan button, I said, oh, yep, there's the 985 net. So 7-3 to everybody this evening. Very quickly. Thank you, Phil, for repeating the question. I suppose, technically speaking, the first amateur radio antenna I ever had was the rubber duck on the HT, because that was the first amateur radio I ever had. I mean, I have 5 HTs now, but I mean, back then, the Linko HT that I first got a hold of, that was my, technically my first antenna. But then when I put in my, the transceiver I'm speaking to all of you on at this moment, I put a tri-band Comet vertical in my attic over my garage, and that's what I'm talking on now. And it has worked tremendously, and I couldn't be happier with all that. So later on, when I got the HF transceiver fired up and running, I have an off-center fed wire antenna in my backyard, in the trees behind my yard. And
that thing has worked unbelievably well. Just the other night, I had a QSO with New Zealand. I've talked to, oh my goodness, the Antarctic, Falkland Islands, and everything, so the thing works great. And one thing I am doing, I'm going to erect some kind of a 160-meter antenna over sometime between now and the fall. And of course, 160, the worst time for 160 is the summertime months. But I am going to prepare for the wintertime improvements in 160 while it's still warm outside. I'm not going to be hanging antenna wires when the snow is flying. So anyway, there you go. I hope everyone's doing well. So thankful to see spring finally roll its way around here. Man, that was agonizing, some of that, how winter hung on. But anyway, Woody again and everybody else, because I just checked in when Woody checked in, so I have no idea how many people are here. Could be 2 or 3, could be 20 for all I know. So thank you for taking my call right away. And having said that, Phil, I'm assuming you're the host. This will be one and done for me. I am just dragging. My butt is dragging, and I need to hit the sack. So with that, I beg everyone's forgiveness for that. I like to participate and keep it going. So I'll say 7-3 all around, Phil. Thanks. We'll throw it back to you and say QRT from KB3ZIM.
Okay, Bob, and thanks for checking in, and thanks for taking the time to be number 10. You are number 10 tonight, so appreciate the double digits. That takes me to the next pay scale, so it's much appreciated. And if anybody wants to do any research on the Sturba curtain antenna, that is spelled STERBA, and then a space, and then curtain, CURTAIN. I wish I had 4 trees in my yard in order to try one of those out, but unfortunately, I don't have many trees that are conducive to hanging antennas. I don't think I could have hung anything shorter than my 180-foot antenna, because my trees are spaced just over probably the main stalk to main stalk is probably just over 200 feet. So why run a bunch of antenna rope when you could just run more wire? So and my antenna is just suspended on 2 ends, so in kind of an upside down inverted V, since I have some droop in the center. And yeah, Woody, I would have loved to. Never seen anybody with one of those antennas, and I'd love to see how they work. I just hear so many things about them, the Sturba curtain antenna. So let's see here. Let me see if there's any additional stations wishing to check in to the Thursday night roundtable. Please call now.
KC3GQA.
Now there is a call sign that we haven't heard in a long time. So hope you're doing well. And why don't you pick it up? KC3GQA. This is KC3CIB. How you doing tonight?
KC3CIB, KC3GQA in the group. This is Joe in Downingtown, and just, Phil, I just caught the tail end of some wire antennas and everything, and there's only two things comment that I have, and that is that for my HF bands, especially 80, 40, and 20, I have a company called My Antennas, and it's 132 feet end fed inverted V through the tree. And I'm totally amazed how well that thing works, and I'm going to end up buying a 160 the 160 band antenna, which is probably about 232 feet, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. But anyway, My Antennas, they give you a 10% discount if anybody's interested. I have the 10% code in case you're looking for a wire antenna. Second thing is, let's see if I can remember what it was. I'll drop here for a second. And I guess, gosh, I can't remember what I was going to say. Oh, I know what it was. I don't know if anybody's been on HF for the most part, but I heard a bunch of guys talking about a website called SDRHU, and maybe you guys already know about it, but it's made up of about maybe 50 SDR radios that are online with waterfalls and everything throughout the whole world. And some of them, if you tune in, you can actually hear yourself and actually pick up your signal. But if anybody just wants to tinker around a little bit, go to SDRHU and pick either a state or a country, and it'll go into the SDR radio with a waterfall and everything, and you'll be able to tune throughout the bands. Other than that, I'll be standing by and listening for a while, and I'll let you guys continue. So, Phil, KB3 CIB, KC3 GQA, I'll turn it back to you.
Okay, thanks, Joe, and thanks for your willingness to share your discount code with everybody. And yep, good deal, and hopefully maybe that tower will get vertical one of these days that you have there. So let's see, what else do I got here? Let's see, this weekend Adam said the Warminster Hamfest was this weekend, so not sure if anybody else is planning on going, but I had to look that one up, and I think he said that was on Sunday. So I'm not sure how far Warminster is, but might be something to do if it's raining, which I think they are calling for a little bit of rain on Sunday, so we'll see what happens there. And let's see here. You mentioned that SDR website. Not familiar with that one. I wrote that one down. I know there is one that I listen to. I think it's K3FEF. I think is the call sign, and he has multiple SDRs hooked up. So for all the different bands and so you have multiple users and everything, and I can, it's located, I think, up in the Poconos or somewhere, and sometimes I'll tune in and listen to myself on 75 meters, and it's kind of neat hearing yourself, 100 miles away. So very cool, and thanks Joe for the link to the SDR site. Had to check that out. So let me see if there's anybody else wishing to check in to the Thursday night roundtable before we start round 2. This is KC3 CIB. Okay, hear nothing. I think we have myself, KC3CIB, and then Jerry, KC3KVM, then John, K3CNI, and then Jim, AF3Z, then Scott, KC3KZG, then Chuck, NA3CW, and then Woody, W3TTW. And while I still got the push to talk still pushed down, Scott, I think this is the weekend you're going for your test, so good luck on your upgrade test. I'm sure you'll do fine, and good luck to your brother Dylan. Really psyched and really looking forward to hearing him on the repeater. So he's probably listened to us so much he probably feels like he knows us. So can't wait to hear the results from this weekend's test session. So it goes to KC3 KVM. This is KC3 CIB.
KC3 CIB, KC3 KVM. Yeah, there was one antenna I did forget to mention on my first round. I do have my Antron 99 up for my 10-meter rig. Leon helped me set that up here the other week, and I've been exploring around 10 meters a little bit and catching the retired net on some of the afternoons there on what is that, 28 or 35, I believe. They meet every day at 1 o'clock, 1 to 2, and I've been checking in with them guys, and a couple of them I've been talking to out by Warminster. So it does sound like it's going to be a good time this weekend, at least from what they're saying. So not sure what else I have at the moment. I know I kind of agree with a couple of the guys of once it gets dark out and kids are off to sleep, it's time that I could jump on the radio for a little bit and have some fun there. So outside of that, I definitely do the commutes and all that sort of thing. So if anyone is a late nighter that wants to talk on my way to work, I usually join in with them about between 10 and 11. So just in case there's any night owls listening that wants to join in, always around for stuff like that. But outside of that, I guess I will pass it over to John, K3CNI.
KC3CBM, I think that was correct. K3CNI. Very good, Alan. It's very interesting to hear everybody's comments here tonight. And I don't really have a whole lot more to add at this point, so I'm going to just pass it on to Jim, AF3Z, and say 73's fellas. I'll be listening in here. K3CNI clear.
All right, John, very good. Good evening to you and good night to you. And by the way, John, Monday the 7th is that thing at the photo club, so we'll see how we do. Yeah, antennas have always been a fun part for me, though I've never done anything. Well, I had that ground-mounted vertical that I mentioned. No radials, by the way. I didn't understand that thing at all. So yeah, I made contacts, I guess, but it wasn't too powerful. But I've always had wire antennas, and I've had some crazy configurations. When I got back into the hobby, I was living up in Lansford, right on Main Street, East Patterson Street, and we didn't have much property, but I took my antenna wire out the front window on the street side, around the side of the house, back the side of the house, and from there I could go catty corner, and there was a neighbor to the back facing on the other street, so he was back on the next street over there. And anyway, they had like a 3-story house. It was a big thing, and he let me hook my wire up fairly high up on their house, and I don't remember if I did it or he did it or how we got it up there anymore. So it was sort of a L shape or something or other. I don't know what it was. Almost a question mark shape. But so that was an end-fed random kind of wire, but it got me out. I also had a dipole in the attic there, and a slinky in the attic for a while. I tried various things. But I've always enjoyed playing with antennas. And I guess it says something about me, but there's something that I get a kick out of, just stringing a wire up, whatever it is, and getting it to tune up some way or the other, and then getting on and seeing what it can do. And it's a lot of fun. I get a kick out of that. And Bob, Zimbob that is, not Jim Bob, it's Zimbob, Z-I-M. Zimbob, excuse me, talking about working DX and stuff. And yeah, when you just have that wire hanging out there, and you're not pumping out, I usually run, this is on CW, but I usually run 60 watts or less. So it's like a little light bulb, That's all the power I'm using, but it can get around the world, and it's amazing stuff. Been playing recently here. I've got an HW8. Came to me by way of Paul N3 RBN. I think I got the prefix right, RBN. And Paul passed this along my direction. And we knew it had some problems for starters, and I repaired some of those things that I knew were there. And I tried it, and it lit up and didn't burn up. Then I had to discover about 3 other diodes. I'd replaced one diode, and 3 other were out. So when I put them in, then it started coming to life a bit. But it's still a good ways from operational. But it's fun just trying to figure it out and poke around and tinker with it. So that's been my latest project. The other night after I replaced the extra diodes, I thought maybe that was going to get it ready to go. But I went through the alignment procedure, and it was doing much more than it did the first time. But I got to the transmitter section and had no power out. So that's where I stand. But it's been fun. And also I started out with heath kits, so it's just sort of neat to work on one and see their old diagrams in the manual and all that stuff. I'm easy to please. All right, Scott, over to you. AF3Z here, and over to you, KC3KZG.
KC3KZG. Yeah, the other antenna that I have up, I've had it up for a few years. It's an old, it's an IMAX 2000. It was originally a CB antenna, but I'm going to probably retune it because it's kind of broadbanded for a 10 meter. I was talking to Jerry, and he said he was using his Antron for 10 meter. So I'm going to try to repurpose that since it's still in the air, and see if I can use it for the 10 meter band. It's already up there, so might as well try to utilize it while it's up in the air. It's pretty high too. It's on top of a 40-foot piece of pipe, and then the antenna itself is like 24 feet long. It's a 5/8 wave antenna. So I'll try that thing out and see if I can use it, because I was going to tear it down and get rid of it, but if I can use it for 10 meter, I'll use it. And one of the other little antennas, it's like a $26 mag mount little 2-meter antenna that I got for the car. I did put a radio in my car now. It's a Yaesu 8900R quad band. So if anybody has any recommendations for a good car antenna, I don't know if I necessarily need a quad band antenna, but I would definitely like a 2-meter or a dual band antenna that I can use that radio with. I think that radio's max power output is 80 watts. So, and I guess I'd do a mag mount again, or a lip mount on the trunk would be nice. So if anybody has any decent recommendations, you know, ones that maybe you have that work well, just shoot me an email, my call sign at gmail.com, and with a link or something. And cause I'm always looking for a better one. That little quarter wave cheap Nagoya, it's a Nagoya, but it was, you know, $25. It got me through with the HT, but I think this radio is a little too much power for it. I don't think it's rated for it. So I'm keeping it on low power at the moment, so I don't hurt anything. But I think that would be good to get a better antenna. Plus, it'd be nice to have like a taller antenna. Try to get a little bit better range out of it. That being said, we'll I don't know if, I guess Chuck's still here. We'll send it over to NA3CW. Take it away, Chuck. This is KC3 KZG.
KC3 KZG and the round table. This is NA3CW. Very interesting all the way around. I'll give you a quickie response on that. The antenna that Joe will stake his life on is a Larson NMO 2/70B. That is his absolute all-time favorite mobile antenna, period, close the book. I borrowed his for a while, worked fine. I have a single band 5/8 Hustler that I've been using for years and years, and on 2 meters you can't beat it, but it's like a flagpole in the car, and of course it's only single band. But this Larson dual bander, Joe has tried Comets, he's tried different other ones, and he just, I guarantee you if you ask him that question, this is what he will come back with. And Phil, to answer your question, figure on, I'll get out of work around 4:30, so say between 4:30 and 5 is when I'll come on. Usually I wait until I get up past, you know, out of the Great Valley a little bit to get a better signal into the repeater, but I can hit it from my, you know, the parking lot at work. But there's a few sketchy spots until I get some altitude. So, but between 4:30 and 5 would be the answer to that one. Yeah, wire antennas are always fun. Because they're so cheap and you can do things with them. Talking about the curtain antennas we had on Guam with the 100 kilowatt stations. And by the way, the Larson is rated for 100 watts. Our 100 kilowatt stations, we had these 2-layer curtains. One was just a big screen of cable, just a mesh. And then in front of that was an array of dipoles, folded 6-wire folded dipoles. And most of them were four dipoles high and 4 dipoles wide. So 16 dipoles in front of a screen. And I think they were rated at like 21 dB gain. And they were just scary. They could really pump it out. But man, that was they made some really, changing hands here, they made some really interesting sounds in a high wind. They would just roar like an airliner. If you got up above 40 miles an hour, they didn't whistle, they roared. And when you got up at near hurricane strength, before we would run for cover, it sounded like a 747 at takeoff. So if you put up something like a Sturber curtain, you have to account for wind load, and you think, well, you know, how much wind load could you get off wires? I can tell you it's a lot when you get a lot of wires in the air. So I guess that's everything for now. With that, I will duck out of here. I've had a very long day, and I need to go upstairs and recover. I went directly from work to dinner to rehearsal at church, and I got back just in time to say hi to all of you. So have a good night. Been a pleasure. And over to you, Woody, W3TTW, NA3CW. 7-3.
Okay, this is W3TTW. I My original antenna at home was an 80-meter dipole. And when I bought a house, I left the antenna there. And a couple of months after I moved, I went down to salvage the 80-meter dipole, and it was gone. Somebody took it just for the copper. So I had to start all over again. And being a novice, that was a big job. But anyway, I became intrigued with this Sturba curtain because Admiral Byrd had used one down in the South Pole. And if that antenna could stay up down at the South Pole, I'm sure it would stay up at my place. And the original one I built was 2 sections, but you could make it up to 5 sections, which I did later on. But the trouble is, that's a lot of weight, a lot of wire in the air, and the wind really tore it apart. I only got to use it a few days, and then I just forgot all about it. And when I moved here, there's not much space besides living in a hollow, but I was lucky that Joe let me use one of his vertical 2-meter antennas, and that's what I'm using on now. Well, okay, it was nice to say hello to everybody, and it's good to listen to all the experiences. And with that, I'm going to say 7-3. So I don't know who it goes back to. Maybe it's the ZIV. I'm not sure. But this is W3TTW. Good night, all.
Night, Woody.
Okay, good night, Woody, and thanks for checking in, and great hearing you, as always. And love hearing your stories. You got some of the best stories on the air. So let me see if there's any last late check-ins for the Thursday night roundtable, and then we'll probably go one more time around, and then we'll probably call it. But whoever wants to stay on can continue on. I think last week it went till almost 12 o'clock. So any additional stations wishing to check in to the Thursday night roundtable, please call now. Okay, hear nothing. So Scott, yeah, and Chuck's antenna, that Hustler, works great. It's a monoband antenna. The one that Joe will recommend, that thing works great. Let's see. On the work truck, I have a Larson quarter wave. It's mounted up above the roof on a rack. And that thing works good. I'd like to try a 5/8 wave up that high, but so I find myself knocking the quarter wave off. So I don't think I'll go to a 5/8. On my personal truck, I'm going to be putting another Larson, but I think that one is that one's a half wave dual band antenna. And let's see here, what else was I going to comment on? Oh yeah, your quad band rig. I think that's what. It's 2 meter, 440, and I think it's what, 6 meter and 10. The only problem with that is, well, you got to have an antenna for 6 and 10, and then it's your only mode that you can work is FM. So not much FM activity on those bands. There are some 6 meter and 10 meter repeaters around, but there's not many. So you're kind of very limited on those two bands. So you know, I don't think you could go wrong with any Larson antenna. The Hustler antennas are really nice. A lot of guys use a lot of the Comet antennas. So I don't think you can go wrong. But you know, just watch your power levels and the power rating of the individual antenna. That's probably all you got to worry about. And okay, make sure I didn't time out. Your IMAX stuff, along with the Antron 99. I would not even pull it down. You should be able to tune 10 and 12 with a tuner on that antenna. So I would try it out first before you take down a 40-foot mast. That's quite a chore to do that, I'm sure. So yeah, I would just try that and that kind of stuff. Then if you do, and for your car, you could always use for 10 meter. You can always use one of your old 11 meter antennas and just cut it down so it's so you get a good match on 10. Let me see here. What other? I got a full page of notes here. But I think that's about all I can decipher off my paper. So I think it is just Jerry, KC3KVM, and Jim, AF3Z, and you, Scott, KC3KZG, and myself, KC3CIB. So we'll pass it around for any final comments, and then we'll pretty much just wind down the round table, and then if anybody wants to continue on, we can do so after that. So over to you, Jerry, KC3KVM. This is KC3CIB. Good night, all. W3GMS. Good night, Hank. Good hearing you. Over to you, Jerry.
Give your regards to my family, please.
Alright, KC3CIB, KC3KVM. Scott, we were talking about that Antron 99 I'm running. That tuned right up for me. Didn't really have any trouble with it, and I mentioned earlier, I'm on legal limit for technician. I'm talking out to Baltimore, Warminster, and Quakertown are about the distance I'm hitting on a regular basis, so it does do well. So it would definitely be worth looking at. I'm looking forward to the they were talking about with the 10 meter anyway, with the warming trend towards the end of May, it warms everything up and it opens the band up a little bit more yet. And so I'm looking forward to seeing what that opens up with, with doing well with that antenna at the moment. So I'll be looking forward to trying that out and seeing how far that'll go. Yeah, good luck to you on Saturday. I'm still not sure if I'm able to make it or not. Still looking for a babysitter and make sure I get everything else I need done before I would be able to go down. So we'll see. I'm close to being able to go, so we'll see. So I guess I'll bid 73's to the group for now, and I'll probably jump back in here in a little bit as I'm gonna go get ready for work. So 73's all, and Phil, thanks for hosting this evening. It's been a pretty good group tonight. Let's see here. I believe I'm passing it over to Jim, AF3Z.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Good morning. Have a good night of work there. I still marvel at people that could go to work at this time of day. I had to do occasional stuff like that, but never any kind of steady diet of it. So anyway, very good. Good to hear you, Jerry. And I'm not sure how much more I have to say. I've been sitting here plunking on the guitar. I doubt that Chuck is still listening, but he mentioned the Sturba curtain roaring in the wind. We have some high tension electric lines or high voltage lines, whatever you want to call those things up there. And they sort of come toward the house and divide, and some goes down one side of the house, and the other go down the other side of the house. But when you get some of those real windy days, walking the dog and stuff, boy, those wires really start to roar, and that's not that many of them up there, but I'm not sure. What it reminds me of, some old Walt Disney movie, and Banshees wailing or something like that. So I can imagine the Sturba curtain in a hurricane would be an interesting sound. Let's see what else is new here. Not a whole lot. I've been mowing grass and doing a little painting outside today. We have this little slide and playhouse thing for our grandkids. It was here when we bought the house, and the grandkids like it. So a while back, my son helped me repair some rotten wood in it, and I've been meaning to paint that wood ever since. It was about a year ago. Not quite. So anyway, I finally got around to priming it and painting it today, and then I'm going to go back and paint the old wood too. And it's really kind of funny. Oh, I don't know, maybe in December or something, right before it started getting cold, I bought paint to do that job. Put it off long enough that the weather got bad and I couldn't do it. But the paint that I bought, they had a gallon of paint sitting around the hardware store there that somebody had ordered, or asked them to mix up, and eventually they didn't want it, or they mixed it wrong or something. But they're willing to sell it cheap, and I thought, okay, that color will be close enough, and it's amazing, but it almost matches exactly. So talk about your luck. So I got paint on my hands and the guitar on my lap, and life is good, I guess. Excuse me. So, life's good, but I can't breathe or talk. Over to you again, Scott. KC3KZG, AF3Z.
KC3KZG. Yeah, I don't have too much more to talk about tonight, so I'm going to jump off here and make this my last. And, get ready for bed. Tomorrow's Friday. I'm ready for the weekend. Try to get up early, get to work early, and get out early. As long as I put in my time, I can leave whenever. So, everybody have a good night, and thanks Phil for hosting. And one of these days I'll have to take my hand at it. But Oh, you said congratulating or wishing me luck for the test on Saturday. You know what? That snuck up on me quick. I didn't do as much studying as I should have. It just snuck up on me. I was like, man, is that next weekend already? Oh man, so then I started crunching today at work during break and stuff, and I don't know. I'll go take it anyway, but there's no guarantees. Some of those FCC regulation questions and stuff are way off the wall. You know, so I don't know. We'll give it a shot, and might get lucky. But I'll try to crunch some more tomorrow and tomorrow night on some of those questions and see what happens. Still listening to the audio book. I got like 4 more chapters to go. That's helped a good bit. You know, you listen to it once, you probably pick up about 40% of the information, and you listen to it a second time, and you get another 40%. So they do help, but you gotta really listen. So, all right, everybody have a good night, and 7-3, KC3, KZG. This will be my last. Good night.
Okay, Scott. Yeah, have a good one. I think, not sure if that car show is gonna, I think, the one down at Hers Community Park is, the car show is this weekend, I think. But the weather may not be conducive to getting a lot of participants. So I was at a car show last Saturday, so it's a good time. Saw a lot of nice cars. I drove a friend of mine's car there and hung out and that kind of stuff. So let's see here. So I guess that's it for the Thursday night roundtable. Thanks for everybody checking in, and let me see if I can pull one more out before we close it down. Anybody out there just wants to do a quick check-in, quick in and out to the Thursday night roundtable here on 9A5. Please call now.
May I make an offer to you? KA3BMS.
Yeah, what's the offer, Hank? KA3BMS, KC3, CIB.
Would you like a ride in my 1949 pink Cadillac Hearse?
A 49 Cadillac pink hearse. I'd like to see it, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd go for a ride. Nah, I'd love to see it, Hank, sometime. So hopefully, I know if I see it at a car show, I'll know it's you. Back to you, Hank.
You're welcome to a ride in the front seat. It'll hold 3 people, 4 if I take out the carrying piece.
Well, maybe that I'll take you up on. I don't wanna be in the back.
The rear quarter panels on each side say the last ride you ever need, whether you want it or not.
That's right. That's right.
Some people laugh at the tailgate when they read step 1 in rear.
I gotta see that thing in person, Hank.
It
Hold your breath.
Held its beauty and its curves better than many other things of that age that are walking around. Have a nice night, and remember, there'll be a a ride you'll never forget. If you'll ever remember it, W3GMS.
All right, Hank. Heard a lot about it. Never seen it. Don't know anybody who's ever seen it. So it could just be a hoax. So we'll you have to let us know when you have it out and where you'll be, and we'll confirm that it is real. So, good hearing you, Hank. And we'll talk to you later. And I guess that's it for tonight's roundtable here on 985. Always got a nice, good little laugh here at the end. So, but thanks for chiming in, Hank. And should check in much earlier instead of just listening for an hour and a half and then coming in right at the end. So, but maybe next week you'll check in right at the beginning. So we'll talk to you later, Hank, and have yourself a good one. So I guess that's about it for this week on the Thursday night roundtable. Be here next Thursday night at 8:30. So hope to hear you guys next week. This is KC3 CIB.